Geobyte.
Hi students, welcome to the Geobyte Diploma series. In the last video, we have discussed the basic concepts of turbines, water turbines, like the layout of hydroelectric power plant, different types of hydraulic turbines. In this video, we will discuss the differences between the impulse turbines and the working principle of Pelton wheel, and also we will try to discuss the velocity triangles for Pelton wheel. First, let us discuss the main differences between impulse and reaction turbines. Dear students, remember the energy available at the inlet of the impulse turbine is only kinetic energy. But in case of reaction turbine, energy is available partially kinetic energy and partially pressure energy. That is the main difference. Come to the second difference. While the water is expanding in the impulse turbine blades, the blades are arranged such that the pressure of the water remains constant. Pressure of the water remains constant in the blade section, whereas the reaction turbine blades are arranged such that the pressure of the water continuously decreases from the entrance to exit. Once again, the blades for the impulse turbine are arranged such that the pressure of the water remains constant while the water is expanding over the turbine blades. Whereas in reaction turbine, the blades are arranged such that the pressure of the water continuously decreases. Third difference, in case of impulse turbines, the casing does not do any hydraulic function. Casing is for just stopping the spreading of water and it cannot do any hydraulic function. Come to the reaction turbine. Casing is compulsory because the pressure of the water continuously decreases from the inlet of the turbine to outlet of the turbine. Therefore, the pressure of the water at the exit of the reaction turbine is well below the atmospheric pressure. To maintain the pressure of the water at the exit of the turbine is well below the atmospheric pressure, definitely the reaction turbine must be closed in a casing or reaction turbine must be connected with the casing. Without casing, it is impossible to maintain the pressure at the outlet of the turbine is below the atmospheric pressure. Now come to the next point. In case of impulse turbines, the water is admitted only a part of the circumference. Wherever we are arranging the nozzles, practically around 3 or 4 nozzles are arranged around the circumference of the casing. Wherever the nozzles are arranged, there only water is entering to the turbine. But in case of reaction turbine, the entire inner circumference is covered with or is filled with water. Once again, in case of reaction turbine, the entire inner circumference is filled with water, but in case of impulse turbine, wherever the nozzles are arranged, there only water is available for the turbine blades. That means the water is entering partly or at a particular locations. The entire inner circumference is not filled with water in case of impulse turbines. Next one, look at the geometric shape of the Pelton wheel bucket or impulse turbine. Geometric shape of the impulse turbine blade is double hemispherical cup or bowl or bowl. The geometric shape of the impulse turbine blade is double hemispherical cup or bowl. The middle portion of the blade is called splitter. The jet is made to enter to the center of the bucket only. Look at the geometric shape of the reaction turbine. This is the aerofoil type. Aerofoil type or airfoil type or airfoil type. The geometric shape of the एक minute. The geometric shape of the reaction turbine blade is aerofoil type or airfoil type. Next, generally impulse turbines are suitable for high head and low discharge. That means impulse turbines are high head and low discharge turbines, whereas reaction turbines are low head and high discharge turbines. The specific speed of the impulse turbine is less, whereas the specific speed of the reaction turbines is high. Come to the next difference. Impulse turbines are suitable for low capacity plants. Impulse turbines are suitable for low capacity power plants, whereas the reaction turbines are suitable for high capacity power plants. While the water is expanding over the turbine blades, in case of impulse turbines, since pressure of the water remains constant, therefore draft tube is not required for the impulse turbine. But draft tube is compulsory. For the reaction turbine. The reason is, while the water is expanding over the reaction turbine blades, pressure is continuously decreases. Therefore, the pressure of the water at the exit of the turbine is well below the atmospheric pressure. To carry this very low pressure water from the exit of the turbine to tail race, we need a water carrying mediator. That water carrying mediator is called draft tube. So once again, we will discuss clearly the meaning of draft tube along with reaction turbines. Time being, remember, draft tubes are compulsory for the reaction turbines. Draft tubes are not required for the impulse turbines. The last difference, the example for the impulse turbines is Pelton wheel. The examples for reaction turbine is Kaplan turbine, propeller turbine and Francis turbine. So these are the basic differences between impulse turbine and reaction turbine. Now let us discuss the working mechanism of the impulse turbines like Pelton wheel. Look at the Pelton wheel block diagram. It consists of a penstock, is also called pipe. Penstock is also called pipe. Okay, एक minute. It consists of a pipe, spear rod, nozzle, the casing. This is the casing, spear rod, nozzle, braking jet. This is the rotor. This part is called rotor. Around the circumference of the rotor, number of blades are arranged like this. And this rotor is mounted on the shaft. Now let us discuss the working principle. Working principle is like this. The pipe or penstock, this pipe is also called penstock. This penstock is carrying the water from the valve house to turbine. At the end of the penstock, a nozzle is arranged. The function of the nozzle is to increase the kinetic energy. It means a high velocity jet is coming out from the nozzle. A high velocity jet is coming out from the nozzle. That high velocity jet is hitting the turbine blades. That high velocity jet is hitting the turbine blades. Then the turbine is running in this direction. While the turbine is running, we are getting the mechanical energy. That means here kinetic energy of the water is converted to mechanical energy. And the turbine shaft is extended to generator, where the turbine shaft cuts the magnetic field in the alternator. There we are getting the electrical energy. Anyhow, while the water is flowing through the nozzle, kinetic energy increases. With that high velocity, the jet is entering to the blade to push away. Because of the jet force, the rotor is rotating. Thereby we are getting the mechanical energy. After expansion of the water over the turbine blades, that is left to the exit. That exit passes for carrying the water available from the turbine is called tail race. Tail race is just passes for carrying the water from the exit of the turbine. As I told you, this casing does not do any hydraulic function, but it is controlling the spreading of water. Now look at the braking jet. You know, the function of the braking jet is to minimize the unnecessary revolutions, unwanted revolutions. Whenever you have a problem from a turbine, then you have to stop the water which is going to the turbine. But the turbine may be running around at 30,000 rpm by the time you are stopping the water. Though you stop the water, turbine goes on running for a long period of time, nearly 4 to 5 hours. That depends on the speed. And during that period, the turbine does not develop any power. Those revolutions are called unwanted revolutions. For minimizing the unwanted revolutions, whenever you stop the main jet of water to the turbine, this braking jet comes into picture to supply small quantity of water, exactly opposite to that of the turbine rotation. The braking jet comes into picture to supply small quantity of water, exactly opposite to that of turbine rotation. Therefore, the turbine goes to rest in a small time. So, for minimizing the unwanted revolutions, braking jet comes into picture. Once the turbine is stopped, the braking jet is automatically stopped. Now come to the spear rod. You know, the load which is acting on the turbine is not constant. Sometimes the load acts on the turbine may be very high, and sometimes the load acts on the turbine is very low. Remember, whenever the load on the turbine is more, the turbine speed decreases. At that time, there is a mechanism called governing mechanism. That governing mechanism is pulling the spear rod back. Once again, whenever the load on the turbine is more, the speed of the turbine decreases. Whenever the speed of the turbine decreases, there is a separate mechanism for water regulation called governing mechanism. That governing mechanism is pulling the spear rod in this direction. Once the spear rod is pulling back, area of the flow increases, then large quantity of water is going to hit the turbine blade. Once the large quantity of the water is acting on the turbine blade, the turbine speed increases. On the other hand, if the load on the turbine is less, turbine speed increases. For decreasing the turbine speed, the governing mechanism comes into picture. that governing mechanism is pushing the spear rod towards the nozzle end. Whenever the load on the turbine is less, the governor mechanism coming into picture, that governing mechanism is pushing the spear rod towards the nozzle end. Once the spear rod is moving towards the nozzle exit, area of the flow decreases, then less quantity of water is trying to hit the turbine. Once the quantity of the water acts on the turbine decreases, definitely the speed can be coming to normal condition. That is how by using the spear rod, the water will be regulated to the turbine based on the load acts on the turbine. Simply, the spear rod tries to send more quantity of water. The spear rod tries to send more quantity of water to the turbine when the load on the turbine is high. Whenever the load on the turbine is less, the spear rod is trying to minimize the quantity of water going to the turbine. So that is how the water will be regulated towards the turbine based on the load acts on the turbine. Now let us discuss the velocity triangles. As we know, the geometric shape of the Pelton wheel bucket is like this. This is the geometric shape of the Pelton wheel bucket. The name is double hemispherical cup or bowl. एक मिनट, double hemispherical cup or bowl, something like this. एक मिनट, I will rewrite. This is the geometric shape of the bucket or blade for the Pelton wheel. The middle part is called splitter. This is the splitter. This is the splitter. The water jet is made to enter to the splitter like this. This is the water jet. This water jet is made to enter to the splitter horizontally like this. This is how the water jet is made to enter to the splitter. Assume the water jet is entering to the splitter with a velocity v1. This is the velocity of the jet. Velocity of the jet. Here a jet is entering horizontally. Jet is entering horizontally means jet entering angle alpha equal to 0. Alpha equal to jet entering angle. The jet entering angle equal to 0 degrees for the Pelton wheel. V1 equal to jet velocity. Jet velocity which is in meter per second. Then horizontal component of velocity is also called wall velocity equal to v1 cos alpha. For this case, since alpha equal to 0, cos 0 equal to 1, then vw1 equal to v1. Here vw1 and v1 both are equal. vw1 will be equal to v1. That means horizontal component of velocity is equal to jet velocity, and flow velocity vf1 equal to, or vertical component of velocity vf1 equal to v1 sin alpha. Since alpha equal to 0, vertical component of velocity is 0. Similarly, u equal to blade speed. U equal to blade speed. That blade speed is equal to, pi d n by 60, where d equal to rotor diameter. Now you know this is the AB be the direction of the A to B, the direction A to B with the direction of water. By receiving the water energy, the blade is moving in this direction. So blade is moving with a velocity u. Since the blade is moving with a velocity u, the blade speed should be marked along the horizontal line. Therefore, AC be the blade speed. AC be the blade speed. In this case, since the jet and blade both are traveling in the same direction, then the relative velocity CB be the relative velocity. That relative velocity at inlet equal to V1 minus U. Since the blade and jet of water, since the jet of water and blade are moving in the same direction, therefore relative velocity equal to simply jet velocity minus the blade velocity. Jet velocity minus blade velocity is the relative velocity. I hope you got my point. That is the inlet triangle. Let me write the relative velocity also. VR1 equal to relative velocity. Relative velocity which is in meter per second. That relative velocity at inlet equal to simply jet velocity minus the blade velocity. After it is hitting the blade, the jet of water is leaving in this direction. The jet of water may be leaving in this direction with a velocity v2. Here this jet velocity is marked with respect to water deflection angle. Once the jet of water is hitting the blade or at B, the water will be deflected in this direction. This is the water deflection angle. Water deflection angle. Since the water is leaving with a velocity v2 at an angle beta at the outlet, developing two component of velocities, this is the vertical component of velocity vf2 is also called flow velocity, and this is the horizontal component of velocity is also called whirl velocity at outlet. And the blade speed at outlet, here blade speed cannot be changed from inlet to outlet because jet is entering at the middle. This is the blade speed. Then the speed connecting between the jet and blade is the relative velocity. With that relative velocity, the jet of water is leaving from the blade with VR2, and this is the blade exit angle phi. Phi be the blade exit angle. Once again, let me write here. This is the blade exit angle denoted by phi. So VR2 equal to relative velocity at outlet. VR2 equal to relative velocity at outlet. Phi equal to blade exit angle. That is the outlet triangle. Inlet triangle is looking like a horizontal line. Outlet triangle is looking like a triangle. So that outlet triangle notations or markings like this: K, L, M, N. Now let us discuss the formulas connected to this Pelton wheel. Force acts on the bucket. Force acts on bucket. F equal to mass flow rate of the water. Mass flow rate of the water multiplied by VW1 plus VW2. That is the force. That is the formula for deciding force which is acting on the blade or bucket. Now the runner power, generally it is taken plus or minus VW1 plus or minus VW2. I will explain to you when do you take the plus and when do you take the minus. Runner power equal to the driving force multiplied by blade speed. Here driving force is force acts on the bucket, that is mass of the water per second, into VW1 plus or minus VW2 into U, where m dot W equal to mass of the water flowing, mass flow rate of water. Better to write clearly. Mass flow rate of water. It is in kg per second. U equal to blade speed. Then the hydraulic efficiency. Hydraulic efficiency. The hydraulic efficiency is equal to runner power by water power. Ratio between runner power and water power. Here water power equal to kinetic energy of the water per second. Water power equal to kinetic energy of the water per second. Kinetic energy of the water is half into m dot W into V1 square. Since mass flow rate is in kg per second, directly we are getting it is in kilojoules per second. Now the runner power, mass flow rate of water into VW1 plus or minus VW2 into U divided by half into mass flow rate of water into V1 square. Mass flow rate is cancelled. Finally, the hydraulic efficiency equal to 2 goes up, 2 into 2U into VW1 plus or minus VW2 dividing by V1 square into 100. That is the formula for deciding the hydraulic efficiency. Now, condition for maximum efficiency. Let us decide condition for maximum efficiency. Condition for maximum efficiency. As we know, though the jet is hitting the plate, until the machine friction is overcoming, the blade cannot be moving away. That means even if the force is acting on the blade, if the blade is not moving, then the work done equal to 0. Similarly, if the blade is running with a speed is equal to jet speed, the first case is, let us write like this. Case 1, if blade speed u equal to 0, even if the jet is acting, the blade speed equal to 0. Blade speed equal to 0 means turbine is not rotating. Then work done equal to 0. If work done is 0, hydraulic efficiency equal to 0. Case 2, another extreme case. If if blade speed u equal to jet speed, the blade speed is equal to jet speed, then the jet cannot catch the plate, because the jet has to travel some distance before hitting the blade. The nozzle may be arranged like this. This is the nozzle arrangement. The jet has to travel some distance before it is hitting the turbine blade. This is the turbine blade. In the second case, since the blade is running with a velocity equal to jet speed, water jet speed, the jet cannot catch the plate. In this case, jet cannot catch the plate. Cannot catch the plate. If the jet cannot catch the plate, then the force transmission from jet to blade equal to 0. If force equal to 0, work done will be equal to 0 and hydraulic efficiency is equal to 0. That is the reason you have to maintain some optimum speed in the blade. When the blade speed is 0, efficiency is 0. When the blade speed is maximum such that blade speed equal to jet speed, then also efficiency 0, because work output is 0. Now when if u equal to blade speed u equal to half of the jet speed, the blade speed u equal to half of the jet speed, efficiency will be maximum. Efficiency is maximum, or work output, work done is also maximum. That means for getting the maximum work output and maximum efficiency, blade must be running with half of the jet speed v1. Then only you can get the maximum efficiency. At this condition, so this speed is called optimum blade speed. This is the optimum blade speed. Optimum blade speed means the speed of the blade where the turbine can maintain maximum efficiency is called optimum blade speed. The speed of the blade at which the turbine can maintain maximum efficiency is called, the speed of blade at which the turbine can maintain maximum efficiency is called optimum blade speed. Optimum blade speed. So u optimum equal to v1 by 2. At this condition, the maximum efficiency equal to 1 plus cos phi by 2. That is the formula. Proof is not required for you. Just remember formula, where phi equal to blade exit angle, where phi equal to blade exit angle. Now let us discuss the important points for the Pelton wheel. Important points for the Pelton wheel are: the first one, the velocity of jet. v1 equal to CV into coefficient of velocity into 2 into G into H, where CV equal to coefficient of velocity. Coefficient of velocity. This coefficient of velocity is varying from 0.98 to 0.99. H equal to net head available at the inlet of turbine. Net head available at inlet of turbine. This net head available at the inlet of the turbine is equal to gross head minus head loss due to friction. Gross head minus head loss due to friction is the net head. Gross head means the vertical height from surface of the water in the tail race to head race. The vertical height from, let me write that point. The vertical height from surface of water in the tail race to head race is called gross head. That gross head is denoted by Hg. That gross head minus head loss due to friction, Hf equal to head loss due to friction. Head loss due to friction. This is also called major loss. This head loss due to friction, Hf equal to, according to Darcy, 4FL V square by 2GD. That is the head loss due to friction formula. Now, second important point is, discharge, total discharge required. Total discharge required can be decided like this. Total discharge required can be decided like this. Power output equal to, otherwise let me write like this. Overall efficiency equal to shaft power by water power. From this, shaft power equal to overall efficiency multiplied by water power. Here shaft power equal to overall efficiency into W into Q into H, where W equal to specific weight of water. From this you can decide the total discharge required Q. Then discharge through one jet. Discharge through one jet. Discharge through one jet, small q, let it be small q. Discharge through one jet, let it be small q, equal to area of the jet multiplied by velocity of the jet. This is the total discharge required. This is the discharge through one jet. Then number of nozzles, third important point. Number of jets required or number of nozzles required. Through one nozzle, the discharge available is area of the flow multiplied by jet velocity. Number of nozzles n equal to total discharge divided by discharge through one jet. discharge through one jet. So the number of nozzles, generally varying, the number of nozzles when n is varying from 4 to 6. 4 to 6. Next point, the jet ratio. Jet ratio denoted by small m equal to diameter of the rotor divided by diameter of the jet. Diameter of jet. You know, the rotor is like this. This is the rotor. The rotor diameter is D. This is the rotor diameter, capital D. And a bucket is connected like this. This is the bucket. A nozzle is arranged somewhere here. This nozzle is connected to the pipe. This nozzle is releasing a high velocity jet like this. Whatever the diameter that jet is maintaining is the small d. Then the ratio between rotor diameter, this is the rotor, ratio between rotor diameter and jet diameter is called jet ratio. It is equal to capital D by small d. It is varying from 11 to 14. M varies from 11 to 14. Next, number of jets required. Number of jets required completed. Number of buckets. Number of buckets, let it be Z is equal to 15 plus capital D by 2 into small d, where capital D equal to rotor diameter and small d equal to jet diameter. This is the formula for deciding how many buckets are required for the Pelton wheel. The next one, the blade speed ratio. The blade speed ratio equal to U by V1. The ratio between the blade speed and jet speed is called blade speed ratio. Optimum blade speed ratio is 0.5 because U equal to V1 by 2. That is the optimum condition. But practically it is varying from 0.43 to 0.48. Optimum blade speed ratio 0.5, but practically it is varying from 0.43 to 0.48. So that is how the important points should be remembered. Please try to remember these relations because we will do some problems on that particular relations. In the next video, we will discuss the problems for the Pelton wheel. Please go through this entire information before going to watch the next video. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe our channel GeoByte and share these videos to your friends, whoever is doing diploma mechanical and civil engineering. Thank you once again. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
GeoByte.